Good morning and welcome back to Sosnovka. It's a lovely day. We have done the sensible thing today and gone and got some supplies with the trailer to save us a little bit of toing and froing, because I was getting a little bit slack, because today is going to be all about efficiency. So we shall set the harvester harvesting. We're not going to bale at all today. We don't need to. We've got vast stockpiles of everything. And this little guy is just going to refill his fertilizer spreader, so he's ready to go. Because we're going to try to keep things as closely monitored as possible today. Right, now, next little thing on the agenda. We're going to have a little look at what we're leasing. Now, the dolly and the timber trailer, as I thought, because they're only counting time when you hitch to them, are on 0. So that's a very cheap way of having those pieces of equipment. We're on half an hour for the bale wrapper, so that's great. The Aquatrans, we're up to 0.2 of an hour, which is basically going and refilling it. The tedder, just over half an hour. The mower has now gone over an hour, but that's absolutely fine. The plough, we've done 4.2 hours on the plough. We can only pull that along at 6 miles an hour with our tractor. So what we're actually going to do is return him, because we had a chat to a couple of the guys around the place, and we found an alternative which we can now afford to make our own 4 meter. Now here it says it needs 200 horsepower. These ploughs will happily be pulled along by much less than that, as you will see. I think technically we'd call this a subsoiler rather than a plough, but that doesn't really bother me. It does the job. It's 4 meters wide. I think we may even go a little bit faster with this than we could with the last plough as well. Obviously, remember, we set this farm up before there were really any mods out, very few mods out for the game, and that Amazone plough, the 3 meter one, was really a good option at the time. It no longer is, and we're luckily enough we can do something about it. And we've cleaned all the tractors, and I forgot to mention, credit where credit is due, it was Roxana, one of our subs, who pointed out that the ministry had written to me and told me I was responsible for the cleanliness of equipment. Just a timely reminder right before audit day, because it certainly helped, and it's quite nice. I'd forgotten how red and shiny they were. So there you go. Clean equipment for the win. Now this is going to make a little bit of a difference, I think, and if we keep the cedar close behind this guy, we'll have to judge their speeds. We don't want people bunching up with each other. And we've also technically still got a spare tractor, so we'll park him here. He's not even ready to be fertilized yet, because the harvester needs to finish this row. And the bulldozer, we can just park the trailer up in there. That's absolutely fine. Pick up one of the trailers from around the other side up there, drop off the arms at the same time, and we're all ready to go. And once we get the field work settled down, then we'll see what else we can get done today. Now the field work seems to have settled down. The harvester, who's got about 4.3 meter width, is doing 6 miles an hour. The Massey Ferguson bulldozer, who's only 88 horsepower, remember, is pulling the 4 meter plough at 6 miles an hour. And the plough description says it needs 200. The cedar is going at 9 miles an hour, so he is going to catch up the plough, but he has also got to look after the trailer and also get ahead of the plough and do the fertilizing. And that, for the first time, I think, in this playthrough, leaves me free to actually drive the big Zeta, which is normally doing the front cultivator and the seeding simultaneously, and is the only tractor that can do it, you know, at that speed. So it always does it. So what are we going to do with this chap? Well, I've got an idea. We'll meet you at the shop. So here we are at the shop, and we are going to, while I think of it, we're going to return the lease mower, because we can now buy a mower all of our own. We've got the nice locally sourced cheap mower, which we shall get in PZ Greenland model, and we shall buy him. And we are going to need, if I can find them on the ever-changing menu screen, a loading wagon, and we are going to lease the Garant, the McHale. It's going to cost us $2,500 for the first hour, but I think that'll be a worthwhile investment. Also of note is that this particular loading wagon has probably the coolest in operation sound effect of any piece of equipment in the game, as far as I'm concerned. It sounds lovely and clanky and mechanical, as you will hear very, very soon. Unfold him. Right, we'll just check on the troops. He's doing okay. He has hit the fertilizer, which is exactly why I left the fertilizer there, so he can't start ploughing up stuff that hasn't been fertilized. He can stop there, put down his seeder. He's going to get ahead of this guy and fertilize. Is this the right side of the fertilizer? No, never is. Not the first time. I might get it right one day. There we go. We'll just nip around here. Get up there. Get this guy going again. Just gonna watch him finish this line. We can put the fertilizer spreader down here to do the same block that it did before. We're going to move the wagon around, ready for the harvester to run up and hopefully auto empty into, get it in the right sort of place, which would be around about here, and then we get back to seeding. And the activity that we've got planned in the big Frontera is one that we can interrupt at will to keep an eye on these guys. So we're just going to seal the harvester, because I might have left that a little bit close. No, he's happy. And he's going to empty. Yay. Right. Well, I probably don't need to challenge anyone to guess what we're about to be doing here, do I? We're going to mow the lawn for the vehicle dealer for a start. We're getting on quite well with him. He has got some good ideas for the area, for the regeneration, and he says he might need our help with one of them. So I said we were rather busy for the next few days, just getting the farm in order, getting the milk production up. But that we'd certainly have a chat with him later in the week, see what it was that was on his mind. And this is literally, we're going to mow and mow and mow. Fill up the silo bunker back at the farm, ferment that into silage, Right, well, we've moved over to the second field and things are working quite nicely. With regards to the field management, what we have figured out is that we're better off leaving the guy on the plough to fertilise, stop and fertilise ahead of himself, and slowing down the guy on the seeder to do it, because although the seeder's going a little bit faster because he's doing only 3 metre width, he does not have spare time, whereas this guy can stop. We want him to stay about 2 fertilizer strips away from the harvester anyway. And then this guy has nearly finished his field and just nip over and start planting. I'm not bothering to fertilise between the plough and the seeding. That would really slow things down, I think, and I've got into the habit obviously of not being able to do that when I'm cultivating and seeding at the same time. So I'm just going to continue, going to fertilise after we've planted and then fertilise after the first growth stage, although I need to go and see a chap about an alternative. But we'll see about that later on. As for this mowing mission, well, yeah, we're just heading back to the farm basically. We've been all the way up to field 2, right at the top of the map. $156,000 field 2 costs. Never really noticed it before. Yeah, and we're just heading back to the farm. Once we've filled up, we'll just switch everything off, obviously cruise back at full speed. And that's what we can do as the harvest is being done. We've been harvesting now for about just over half an hour. It started at 9:30. So doing pretty well because we're nearly done down at the main farm. And we should certainly be able to get everything done in less than the 3 hours it took us yesterday. And get a lot of silage fermenting in the silo at the same time. So that would be good. Overtake. I like those trucks. I wish we could get one of those. I know there's a mod on PC. It's very like, is it Zill? Very like the one in Spin Tires, which I've done some heroic log carrying with. One map in particular has a challenge to complete the mission on with just those trucks, and that's quite fun. You've really got to pick your way through. Anyway, it'd be nice to have one of those for my little retro farms. Maybe one day. Are we going to fill up just before we get to the flyover? That would be perfect, wouldn't it? There we go. Turn everything off. The little Zeta would manage to do this, I think, pretty nicely, but the big Zeta, just that little bit of extra oomph to get these two things moving around. And as I say, it's actually the first time. It's quite a treat. To actually be able to have a go in him. Celebrate with the beacons. So we're going to get this tipped into that bunker. Helper I has completed their task. That'll be the planter, so we'll go and see to him as soon as we're parked up. See how much of a mess we can make doing this. Right. Where are you? And I checked the prices before we actually start planting, but I think we're just going to stay with cereal in here so we get the straw, even though we've not needed to get it today. And probably soy over here in the other two fields. But let's just check the prices just in case anything really odd is going on. No, see, look, even though where we sold it yesterday at the bakery the price is awful, it's still $1,000. In the village grain elevator it says that price is dropping, but it won't drop too far, and we've still got $9.60 at the transport company, so I don't think we can really go wrong with this soybean. So off you go. And now, remember, to dump grass into a silo, you've got to do the force unload. So it's left bumper, right bumper. Unload here. And this does unload very slowly, actually. Although it does mean you can kind of control it, get a bit of an even spread. I don't want it to really go too far down the bunker. No intention of filling this up. I've no idea what the actual maximum capacity of this silo would be, but I would say we're probably heading up towards 1 million. I'm sure in 15 you had to fill these to quite a high minimum level. 100,000 plus. I've noticed that now you can, on some maps, maybe on all maps, start fermenting with a very minimal amount, which can be handy on a small startup, because it could be quite a labour, especially back in 13. I remember, if you didn't have a lot of money, getting your first load of silage fermented was quite a task anyway, and if you had to put 100,000 minimum in, that could be really quite a chore. Anyway, we'll just get on with that. This is all working very nicely so far. Look at this, a team in motion. Stripes for the win. So we've now got this hired out to a worker, which is kind of handy. Not sure how he's going to handle with a turnaround, but we'll have a look. The field is going like clockwork, I'm pleased to say. The planter might be catching up with the plougher just a little bit, but then we can just adjust it by whoever takes the next turn on the fertilizer, so that's absolutely great. And we're certainly keeping things a little bit more tightly packed. Obviously once the harvest is finished, we've got to get him up to the other fields. We also need to fertilise them before he starts harvesting, so we get the full yield. So yeah, we'll see where we are then. Might be that the big Zeta whisks him up with the fertiliser, leaves these two guys to catch up afterwards. We'll see how we're going. This guy's certainly doing well, and that's the absolute benefit of ploughing out some grass and planting it yourself. It then becomes a field that your workers can work on your behalf. And what I'm guessing is 2 loads of this is going to be about 50,000 litres, which is about what, a dozen, just over a dozen bales of silage once it's fermented in the bunker. It's not a huge amount. We're going to basically just see how we get on with the time, I think. Try to stay within the hour. Right, how are you going to deal with this, Mr. Worker? Quite interested to see if you can. These loading wagons are quite a lump behind you. Where are we off to? Trying to figure it out, isn't he? It looks so. Has he lifted the mower? Yes, he has. Oh, look. I think he's kind of figured out a way to do it. I just don't think he has taken the trailer into account. There, that's not bad, is it? Not bad at all. We can always tidy up the end if we really feel the need to. Well done, him. Right. We could do another fertilizer run over here. We may as well just wait. There's no need to stop anybody working. Yes. Beautiful spacing, as they say. Here we are, we're back with our 4th load of grass. The bottom fields are all done, the fields back here at the main farm. So we're just going to drop this stuff off. That'll put this up to nearly 100,000 grass that is now turning into chaff as we dump it, that will then ferment into a lovely silage. And that's what we want. And I've put it all down this end because we still want to keep all the loading going in one point. I'm hoping that we can find one of those lovely 4,000 litre buckets available locally, so we can just put 1 scoop of the silage in from here with a bale of hay and a bale of straw to make our mixed rations up. And we can then use the square baler, which saves the stopping and starting. It also means we've got an extra option. We can get rid of the round baler and the wrapper, maybe keep them. What we are going to do now is return. Still only 0.6 of an hour, but that's 4 loads, that's 100,000. That's going to keep us going, and we now need this big Zeta tractor to toll a team up the hill to the other fields basically. So I think what we're going to have to do, let's get organised. We need the fertilizer spreader to get there at the same time as the harvester. Who's got the fertilizer spreader? Right, you just can let go of that. You're not towing that across the map. You put down the fertilizer spreader. You come and pick up the fertilizer spreader on your front. We shall stop at the shop and get a refill, and remember we need to fertilize before we start harvesting, or I shall forget. Right, we got the harvester, we got the seeder, we got the fertilizer. We'll get these guys up there, get them going, and then we can bring up the plough and the seeder with the small zeter just to move them up across the map. We'll leave the bulldozer down here. May send him up to do some forestry. We may have some other odd jobs for him to do. Well, we now actually have the harvester resting on the back of my tractor. That's okay. No one's going to notice the paint smudges because we're all the same shade of red. Right, here we are on the little zeter. He's bringing the plough and the trailer over, complete with the soil that we harvested from field 19. We've left the bulldozer basically back at the farm. He'll get on some odd jobs once these guys are fully into the field work, which has already started over here. Help with B is blocked by an object. Sounds like we're here just in time. Right, bulldozer's first job is to take this wheat over to the bakery, where we had the best price at the moment, which I shall show you when we get there. He's feeling the weight a little bit now. I guess the run down from the woods to the timber sale lake is pretty much downhill, or at least flat, which obviously is a little bit of a help. No, he's scooting along nicely now. Always a bit of a horrific bump that one. I'm sure in 15 I had a tractor that would actually get stuck on that lip in the gateway. Right, you can sell that off. What price are we getting? 385. That's pretty good. We'll take that. Right, got the plough going, got the fertilised stuff, he's doing it. We managed to plant a bit of oilseed radish yesterday. Remember when that guy was getting ever so confused? Well, maybe I got a little bit confused too with my button pushing. Anyway, not a big disaster. Right, this guy needs now to get back, clean up the cows. Then we're going to use this guy, because I think he might be good at it, to compact the grass stroke chaff in the bunker and get that silage fermenting, which should be, it takes 24 hours to ferment. Give this chap a bit of a wash as well. He missed out this morning when the two tractors were getting spruced up. Right, so the field guys, the harvester's on the last field. The plough is a ploughing, followed by the seeder, all very under control. So we can get on with tidying up. Now we're just pushing this silage back over this. The little yellow markers you can see at the corners, just to ensure that once we get it all compacted and wrapped, it all goes under the covering. Obviously this all works much better if you lower your bucket enough. And he's not doing too bad a job on the compactors. There are various tools and rollers you can buy or lease to make the compacting a little bit quicker, but we're not exactly under any time pressure. Now obviously we've not really made much income today. In terms of cash, we haven't done the forestry, although it's still not even lunchtime. Look, we've been basically 2 hours basically so far the harvest has taken, which is quite a nice little session time for me. Let's get every last bit of this back over the line. So there's still plenty of scope to make money today if we wanted to, after all the farming is done, but I really do like to try to get everything as interactive, that's not the right word, it's simultaneous, and having this free vehicle is definitely a big help in that. Just plodding on with the compacting. It does take a little bit of a while, but it involves nothing more than driving backwards and forwards, so not really the most challenging of chores. And once we get this compacted up to 100%, get this wrapped, tomorrow we will have all the silage we will probably ever need. So a little quick check on the field battalion. We've hit 50% compaction. He's ploughing away. He's just doing the second fertilizer spread post planting on this field. We've left a nice little border with oilseed radish, but that's okay. The harvesting is done. So yeah, about 2.5 hours today it looks like we're going to do in terms of actually getting the fields turned around. Probably could bring that time down a little bit, but why would you want to really? What you will find as you get the silage compacted, it does get flatter and flatter. This is quite an easy silo to use because you can drive through it. On some other maps they're closed at one end, they can be a little bit narrower, and depending on what you're bringing the grass or the chaff to them in, they can actually be quite a pain to maneuver and get the stuff emptied and get the produce out and then get the trailer out. In fact, on Old Stream Farm, the silo's there with the trailer that I've got. Basically you have to get the trailer in the silo, empty it out as best you can. Really resetting it then is one of the only other options to get it out, and then you have to spend a bit of time because you literally end up with a mountain of silage, or chaff I should say, because it hasn't fermented yet, because you can't move the trailer around like we could here to start off with a particularly nice even. So that's quite funny. You actually have to dig your way into it with the bucket and spread it out manually as you're compacting it, but all part of the challenge. But no, this is probably one of the easiest bunkers to use. And there are various bunkers around the map. There's one just past the chickens. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before. With 15 they were grass sell points, so you could literally just mow all the way around the map, and you had lots of places just to sell it. Now they all seem to have been converted into silage bunkers, so you could do the same thing really, save you lots of toing and throwing. With all the free mowing that is available on this map, you just have stashes of silage fermenting all over the field, all over the map. And when they're done, just go around, pick them up, move them to where you need them, sell them, whatever. Right, I'll have another quick check on the field guys, because they were pretty much done. So let's get you over, get you planting. They seem to be getting dirtier very quickly, but then I guess we lost track because we didn't wash them for a week, so they were just permoed, grubbed. Oh no, we're not supposed to be doing that yet, are we? No, we're going to stick to what we've been doing. 2 pellet fertilizers, then we've got a plan for the third post plant growth. Oh, look how plough guy's stuck up here. I'm still thinking, in fact I may, while we're not parked up but we're up here, getting some kind of shelter in here. Let's just get this chap back on the road. When he's sat there like that, he's costing you money as well, remember. And he's blocked and his lights are on. He has not dismissed himself. He's sat there waiting for you, so do try to get to him. Right, what we're going to do here, you can get on with your seeding. And we'll get back to the compacting, and we'll get back to you when all that's done, I think. Off we go. Well, we've finished driving backwards and forwards quite a lot. And we now have 100% compaction, so we shall press left stick and blanket the silo. Lovely. Oh, we got some left in there. That was a bit silly. Oh well, not to worry. We'll just put him next door. He can go in with the next load. He'll go right here. Alright. We've got a wagon full of soy. We've still got a little bit left in the harvester. I think Planter Man must have pretty much finished. In fact, he has. So before we go, just to save a little bit of time, we'll get him to doing the last harvest rush. And as you will see, we have managed to buy ourselves, build ourselves a bit of a shelter up here. It is that one right there, the BSM Model 6 shed, $6,000. Open sides, we can handle it. Fits in there quite nicely. A little bit tidier. I didn't want to put the shelter in this corner just because it can be a little bit tight for access and messing about, and we can use this as a little bit of a staging post during the work. And tuck everything up in there for the night. That's the plan, and I like it. So we'll just get this guy finishing off his harvest. Why do I keep complicating or confusing the words harvest and fertilise? They're quite different in most senses, but not to worry. You know me. Sometimes the brain and the mouth are not quite fully connected. Alright, we're just getting past the scary building, which seems to be becoming slightly less scary. Some of the workers have actually made it past there now. Right, we can now leave him. Right, we looked at the prices. Where are we? The soy price has come down a little bit. It was over 1,000 at the village grain elevator when we looked about an hour ago, but we're still going to get 932 at the good old reliable vegetable warehouse. So that is where we shall drop this load off. Come back and get a little bit more. I think there's about 2,000-3,000 left in the nobody's completed their task. What have you done? You've driven into a fence. See, that little strip there of unfertilised land has made him think that maybe he should turn around and try and do that. And what I've found is the more time, the workers are great. I mean, they definitely get the job done. And as we saw, particularly with the guy mowing with the loading wagon, they can really figure some stuff out. But it is definitely worth, if you've got the time, to pop back and check them. You can save yourself a bit of money and perhaps, you know, a bit of time by helping them maybe turn around a bit quicker. The other thing that they don't always do reliably is, you know, match the lines. They drive very straight lines, which is great, and in many cases better than I could, but they'll overlap them quite a lot. And depending on the equipment, and I don't know, the guy's mood, sometimes you can lose almost a third, 25%, a third of the actual width of a piece of equipment because it keeps overlapping. So if you can spend a little bit of time checking on your workers, it can be quite productive to do so. What I also have noticed, I've never really done an experiment before, was how much more seed, based on the yield you get from the land, how much more seed you actually use. So, but what was odd was that, I'll check the figures properly if anybody really cares, but I found, this guy's now hit a tree. What I found was that canola, which isn't really competitive compared to soy in terms of price, you use twice as much seed. It actually threw me in one of my other playthroughs. I couldn't figure out why I kept refilling this planter quite so often. And the simple reason was that I was planting canola and it uses double the amount of seed than you do for planting soy. So that's something to bear in mind too. I have got a little sheet of the figures. Oh, come on, trailer. This is odd because sometimes it really doesn't get too upset about any of this. Look, then it peeks through the side. And now it's emptying through an imaginary hole. That's absolutely fine, it works. It's Sosnovkan physics at its finest. We're just going to do a little twiddly bit along the edge just because we like to. And really tapping the button on and off uses no, or virtually no fertilizer whatsoever. Certainly for those of us watching the pennies. Although I guess we're getting increasingly into the realm of not having to. Yesterday we made 10 times the profit, $45,000 that we were making a week before. I think the very first day, day one, our profit was just over 2,000, but obviously that's really a skewed figure because of what's going on. We settled down to about 4,000 a day, and yesterday we hit $45,000 profit. I think we're also at the point, although I haven't checked scientifically, where we could actually stop farming for days and still make a profit, because the milk income is now in excess of what the daily overheads would be if we just sat around twiddling our thumbs and only actually farmed when we needed more stuff for the cows. But we're not going to go down that road. Right, that field is now fertilised for the second time. That harvester is now empty. The silo is blanketed. We've got 2,200 of this to sell over at the vegetable warehouse, which, as you may have noticed, I repeatedly confuse with the transport company. But again, I hope you've learned how to speak Dadex. You should see me when I'm dealing with people with the names that start with the same letter. Really confuses me. At work there's Justin and Jason. Now seem to have accepted that their names are pretty much interchangeable. Even my beloved Madeline, my lady, I'd sat in the pub calling her Marianne and Marianne Madeline, or referring to them as such because they were sat next to each other, and it just absolutely screws in my head. I can't help it. The people around me know it. Hopefully you'll get used to some of my foibles too. So, oops. Good sturdy fences in Sosnovka. So look, yeah, we can tuck all our little pieces of equipment in here for the night. We've got room to get back out, get some more. And we are fully efficient. It even matches the tractors quite nicely, doesn't it, up here? So we'll put your arm away. And then look at that. Could have been a custom build for us. We've pretty much done the day. Let's have a look at the figures. There is a little bit more to be done, and I will return very briefly to show you that, but I think we're pretty much done for today. We look at the finances. We've obviously bought some equipment. We've built a shelter. Leasing costs are down. We've sold over $10,000 worth of milk at midnight, which is fantastic. So if you actually, the fertilizer costs are back to its traditional 3,600. So you can see that we pretty much exactly broke even leasing that slurry spreader yesterday in terms of using that. Harvest income's a little bit down today, but we had exceptionally good prices yesterday. We're not going to worry about that. Wage payment with the ploughing is up to $10,000. We saved $500 on the last time, but we're just going to have to, for now, accept that. It's really not a big concern, as I've said before. We'll have a look at the end of the night, actually, because if these are our vehicle running costs, animal upkeep, vehicle leasing costs, yeah, I think the milk basically covers now all of our daily expenses and leaves us with some profit, and everything else is just pure profit. On top of that, now we're meeting our milk production quota. Everything is looking well. I'm going to pop back when we've had a first growth stage and show you the one more little treasure that we have found hiding in the sheds of Sosnovka. Yeah, so we were chatting with some of the local guys the other day complaining about the price of fertilizer, and they said, we know just what you need. And hidden away, it's actually in the cultivator section, is this Lizard RC Max 2 mod. 6 meter cultivator, but can be used as a weeder. Once you've chosen to get the weeder model, bear in mind it will not then work as a cultivator. I've certainly not been able to make it do that. So we're going to buy one of those. It's 9,700. However, it's going to save us $1,200 a day on fertilizer. We can be pretty sure about that because this is going to do a third of our fertilizing. So it's going to pay for itself pretty quickly, which is what we like. And we're going to use this now. We're going to stick to our harvest, fertilize, plough, seed, or cultivate, seed, fertilize, first growth stage, instead of them running around with the fertilizers again or having to remember to do it before we harvest. We're going to do it with this chap. Nice little bit of kit, certainly a lot cheaper than the other weeders that are available. I'm really not quite sure why they're so expensive. The only other cheap mod one is like, it's 2 meters wide, and anywhere but Altenstein I wouldn't even try to use it. But it's up to you. to do it on a worker makes it so expensive in the wages that you're paying. It kind of counteracts what the money you're saving on the fertilizer because it's such a narrow width. And if you start doing it manually, then the members of your family might be complaining about the just how much time you spend on your farm simulator. So the balance and the choice is yours to make. But I am quite happy with this. I'm quite happy to rent it out, and I'm quite happy that it will have paid for itself before the end of this week, which is, it is something to look at when you're upgrading machinery. I mean, you don't want to get too technical unless you have to, or of course you want to. Off he goes, and we should see, there we go, the colour change as he moves along the fertilizers. Let's actually see what's going on here, because obviously it's just a roller. I'm not saying this would really... Oh, it's getting very dirty very quickly. That's quite good. Looks like it would probably just kill everything, to be fair, in the real world, because it's just a big nasty roller. But it's doing the job for us, and we'll leave it at that. Right, we're going to let this guy get on with this. We will pop back at midnight just to get the final figures in, because that's what we do. So I shall see you then. Here we are, just tidying up the cows just after midnight. We'll have a quick look at the figures, and then we shall leave you in peace. I didn't notice, I've just gone ahead and bought 2 cows. I did just in between these clips. We'd actually made a cow as well from reproduction already. We're making a cow just over 24 hours. We'll have a look at the animal screen in a moment. So we've actually gone up 3 cows today, which is good, something to bear in mind. If you actually see, I mean, our income from milk, when we get down there, is now more than covering 7,000, 7,600, 8,600, 9,200. They're our basic kind of day-to-day costs, although leasing costs don't need to be that high every day. And they're being more than covered by the milk. So as I said, we could basically almost shut down if we wanted to. Not farm, only farm when we needed more straw and just mow grass and feed the cows. Be a rather interesting way of doing things, but we'd make a profit every day just doing that. Obviously not as big a one. Fertilizer costs back up 3,600 because we bought it actually before we bought the weeder, so we've got some extra fertilizer costs tomorrow, so hopefully we'll see the costs come down. Harvest income, as we discussed, was a little bit lower. Wage payment, it cost us about $800 in wages to do that weeding. It would have cost us a few hundred anyway to do a worker doing the fertilizer, so definitely a cheaper option. On the subject of the loan, which obviously is maxed out at 300,000 and has been for pretty much as long as it could be, any interest payments, we're not really interested. It's not a priority at all to take the loan down. We don't consider it a loan. The $1,264 a day that we're being charged isn't really loan interest. We'll call that the ministry admin fee for all our lovely paperwork. If we do just look on the animal screen, as you see, we're up to 42 cows. We're making one every 28 hours, which will pretty soon, I think, be 24 hours. So yeah, if we start just making a cow every day, that's going to really boost things. We're really getting there now. I have put one more mixed rations load into the cows just to keep them going. That was already mixed up. We've got 3 more loads of materials over there, so probably another 6 days worth in total. So we're going to look at what we're doing each day. We've got the basic farming to do, then we've got a choice of forestry or silage production or cow food production, as in hay, grass, etc. So we can vary that day to day and see where we get on. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We'll be back very soon. Leave us a like if you liked it. Comments always welcome. And subscribe if you want to stay in touch. Take care and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.